any kind of DM. So feel free to reach out. So this is a question that I got recently. Dr. Nina, how can I fix my food issues? How can I fix myself is actually what this person said. How can I fix my food issues? Well, here's the thing. You can't fix your food issues because you're not broken. We only fix what's broken. Here's a way to think about it. I love this story so much because it's how I think about change. Michelangelo was once asked, how do you turn these great blocks of stone into statues? And he said, and I paraphrase because he said it in Italian, I don't turn the stone into statues. I free the statues from the stone. Isn't that beautiful? Because that is the way I want you to think about change. You don't have to fix your food issues. You just have to chip away at what is keeping you stuck so that the true, authentic you can emerge and just be. You don't have to change. You don't have to be fixed. You're not broken. You just have to figure out what's keeping you stuck, chip away at that, change that, and then you're free. That's why I call it liberation, because once you achieve that, you're not thinking about food all the time. You're not waking up and thinking about how you're going to be good or what you're going to eat or not eat or how you're going to be really mindful and all the nonsense, all the food noise. No, you're just going to wake up. You're going to think about your day, not your diet. So you do not have to be fixed. Instead, get curious, not critical, get curious about what's keeping you stuck. Okay, here's another question. This person said, some of the times when you talk about what you say to your clients or patients, it doesn't sound like the way my therapist speaks to me. Could I be with the wrong therapist? Well, you might be with the wrong therapist, or maybe not. I actually want to share a little bit more about this because often we think that therapists are just interchangeable. One therapist is as good as another, and that is actually not true. So let me talk a little bit about what makes a good therapist and what makes a not good therapist, and how to know if your therapist is not the right fit for you. And by the way, I am not talking about bad therapists like, oh, serious ethical violations. Those are red flags. Get away. Like, you do not have sex with your therapist or commingle funds or go meet them for dinner or whatever. That is not those are ethical breaches of one sort of or another. I want to talk about some more subtle signs that you are with the wrong therapist or with just someone who's just not right for you. Could be right for somebody else. Let me actually start by sharing my very first experience in therapy. And it is a doozy. Okay, it was horrible. So I'm 15 years old, and I had what my parents called a bad attitude. Yes, and I did, because that basically translates to I was a teenager. So they sent me to therapy, and I walk into the office, and here's this guy. Like, let me paint a picture. He's this guy who's like maybe 30 years old, but he has a beard. He has like wire rim glasses. He's like trying to channel Sigmund Freud or something. He has all these sort of old school furniture. So suit, beard, big desk that he sits behind. And he just looks at me and he starts stroking his beard. And then he says, your parents tell me you're a very disturbed young lady. Yes, this is what the therapist said. This was his opening salvo. I look at him and I say, F you. Only I didn't say F. He said, oh, you have anger issues, young lady. Young lady. I said, F you, I'm out of here. And as I was walking out the door, he said, "You're going to have problems with men one day." I said, because, I was a teenager and couldn't think of anything else that was clever, F you for the third time, and I left. So I have to tell you, when I was 15 years old, I thought therapy was the stupidest thing ever. I vowed never to go back to therapy. Well, never say never. And luckily, years later in college, I had another therapist who changed my life. And now I'm a therapist, I'm a psychoanalyst. So there you have it. So look, there are a lot of bad therapists, not so good therapists, people who are not a good fit for you therapists out there. And then there are a lot of good therapists out there too. So let me give you some signs of bad therapists. So first, pay attention to whether your therapist truly listens to you. Like listens to you. Do they seem distracted? Do they seem disengaged? I have heard of this happening more than once. Someone who said their therapist fell asleep in session. Can you believe it? Their therapist fell asleep in session. Oh my gosh. A good therapist is fully present and awake and attentive and should give you their undivided focus. But if you consistently feel unheard or you feel like your therapist is just kind of going through the motions, that is a sign that something is off, very off. Second, watch for therapists who interrupt you or they seem like kind of impatient with you, or they don't really pay attention to what you're saying. They're trying to impose something that they want to say. So this shows a lack of respect, often, for your lived experience, for your thoughts, for your wishes. So a therapist should create a safe, supportive space where you can share freely about your thoughts, your desires, your fears, your wishes, all the things without feeling rushed or dismissed. Third, be wary of therapists who impose their own values, beliefs, or agenda onto you. Therapy should be a collaborative process where you explore your mind, your world, your thoughts, your emotions, where you clarify your own values, your own goals. If your therapist is constantly trying to push their viewpoint or trying to steer you in a certain direction, that is not good. That is a red flag. They should respect your autonomy and support you in finding your own path forward instead of trying to get you to do what they think you should do. After all, therapy is about you. It is about your life. It is about your experience. Fourth, consider whether your therapist has the cultural competence and sensitivity to understand your specific culture, your identity, your experiences. If they struggle to understand or they can't really empathize with your unique cultural background or your unique social context or just, your life in some way, that limits the effectiveness of your work together. And you deserve a therapist who can meet you where you are and appreciate the full complexity of your life. It's your life, remember. Next, fifth, pay attention to how your therapist responds to feedback or concerns that you raise about the therapy process itself. Do they get defensive? Do they dismiss your perspective? Do they tell you why? Well, this is why I did it. Like, you're not, like, do they get defensive? Or are they opening to hear your thoughts? Are they willing to change their approach? Do they apologize to you? Do they apologize if they don't get something? Do they say, "Oh, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I really wasn't getting what you were saying, and I didn't listen to you right. And I didn't hear what you were saying, and let's try again. I really want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, or how could I do differently? How would you like me to respond?" A good therapist actually welcomes constructive feedback, and it's an opportunity to strengthen that therapeutic relationship. So feedback, which is how people are in relationship, a therapy relationship is a relationship. There are going to be times when you're just like, "Oh, my therapist is annoying me." Well, tell them why they're annoying you. What are they doing that's annoying? Let them understand you better. It helps both of you. And six, and this is really important when it comes to eating disorders, consider whether your therapist seems to have the adequate knowledge and experience in the area that you are seeking help with. No therapist is an expert in everything, but they should have enough, and that's why, no doctor is an expert in anything. You go to your general practitioner and then he sends you to a specialist, right? A GP is not a cardiologist, is not a gynecologist, is not a whatever. They send you to someone who is the expert. So if you need specialized expertise, you should be seeing someone who has that expertise, as opposed to, well, I treat, eating disorders and depression and anxiety and couples and all of the things. Like, how about if you need something specialized, and eating disorders is specialized. Binge eating disorder is the most prevalent kind of eating disorder there is, that many people don't know they have. They just think they have no willpower. No, it is the most prevalent eating disorder. So if you want to get treatment for an eating disorder, you go to an eating disorder specialist, because it takes a specialist to treat binge eating in a meaningful and helpful way. And finally, maybe most importantly, trust your instincts, trust your gut about this overall relationship. Do you feel a sense of emotional safety and trust and rapport with your therapist? Do you? Because if you don't, that's a warning sign. The therapeutic relationship is the foundation of a successful therapeutic outcome. So if something feels off to you, or you don't feel a genuine connection for whatever reason, that's worth paying attention to. You have to feel seen, respected, and supported in therapy and in any relationship, PS, by the way. So respected means not judged, not belittled, not ignored. So be selective about finding that right therapist. It is a deeply personal relationship. It's been called an incredibly intimate relationship in a formal setting, which I really like that. So true. It has to be a good fit. And if you notice any of these signs that I've talked about with your therapist, bring it up. If things don't improve, know that it is always okay to seek out a new therapist who will meet your needs, because you deserve a therapeutic experience that works for you, because that's the only way it's going to help you. And by the way, so important, when it comes to a bad experience in therapy, it is not about the therapist. No, I got that wrong. I'm about to say it's not about the therapist, it's about the therapy. It's not about therapy. It's about the therapist, right? It is not about therapy itself. It is about the therapist. If we get a bad haircut, we don't say, oh my gosh, hairstylists are not helpful. Hairstylists are so bad. No, we say, oh, got a bad haircut. Then we look for someone else who can cut our hair well. We go to a mechanic and they do a bad job on our car. We don't say, oh, mechanics are worthless. We say, oh, I went to a bad mechanic. Let me find a good one. So it's not about the profession. It is about the particular professional. So that is my long answer to the question of how do I know if I'm with the right therapist. Another question I have is, I really want to lose weight. I really want to lose weight, but I hear so much about body acceptance. How can I accept my body and at the same time want to lose weight? Or how can I just accept my body? So this is a hard one for a lot of people. We get so many messages like body acceptance, accept yourself, body positivity. And then, followed by, here's how to lose weight. Here's the newest diet. Here's all the reasons why you should lose weight, blah, blah, blah. It's very, very complicated to live in this world where we're getting so many different messages. So maybe you think you absolutely have to lose weight, need to lose weight before you can feel good about your body or consider yourself attractive and good enough. And that is something I want you to challenge. This is not about not losing weight. This is more about, well, how do you support yourself as you are, as you may, whether you want to lose weight or not, right? You can feel good about yourself even if you're in the process of losing weight, if that is what you want. So staying in the I can't feel good about myself until I'm thin, that kind of mentality, that is what keeps us in the yo-yo cycle of dieting and then binging. Dieting and deprivation, followed by binging or emotional eating. That is a terrible cycle, as you know. So one thing you can do is just appreciate yourself. Yourself. Sounds simple, right? But when you think of yourself, many people, when they think about their self, right, they think of their image in the mirror. They think about their physical self. But you are so much more than the person you see in the mirror. Yes, you have a body, you have a physical presence, you have a face, you have all of these things, but you also have so many other aspects to you. You have a mind, you have intellectual parts, emotional, relational, creative, maybe spiritual parts of yourself, a whole range of qualities that make you the person that you are. So really make it a point to identify and embrace and nurture all those parts of you, because they all need your attention. They all need your appreciation. When you feel good about your whole self, you won't be as focused on weight as a way to define yourself. And by the way, when's the last time anyone introduced someone by saying, "Oh, I have someone I want you to meet. You're going to love her. You're absolutely going to love her because she is thin." What's that? Never? No. Nobody has ever said this person is wonderful because they're thin. We say they're wonderful because they're nice, they're fun, they're funny, they're easygoing, they're interesting, right? So think about that. You are so much more than the person in the mirror. And I'm not saying don't lose weight. I'm saying, how about you appreciate yourself as you are now, instead of waiting to lose weight to feel good about you. And also accept your inner world. As a psychoanalyst and as a coach, I have worked with thousands of people, literally thousands of people all over the world, and I have seen one commonality in all of them. None of them knew how to feel their feelings or be kind to themselves. And one reason behind this, of course, is our culture has a big problem with our emotions. We make feelings really bad, really scary, unless you're happy. You're allowed to be happy. If you're a guy, you're allowed to be mad. And if you're a woman, you're allowed to be sad. But if you're a guy, you can't be sad. You can't be vulnerable. No way. And if you're a woman, you're not supposed to be mad because that's not very nice. So because of this, we are always trying to stuff down our emotions or starve them away or drink them away or work them away or positive think them away. But as counter and intuitive as it may sound, the only way to get rid of feelings is to actually feel them. And when we accept our emotions and we give them attention and we express them, we feel better. When's the last time you were around a little kid who had a was crying or mad or had like a little fit, as kids are known to do? What happens afterwards? They're done. It's like, okay, what's next? Now, I'm not saying, hey, have a fit, but the adult version of expressing your feelings. As a child, it's having a tantrum or a meltdown. As an adult, it's expressing your feelings. What are you feeling? Why? What is the situation that is creating the feelings mean to you? And then expressing them with affect, right? We can't say, I'm really angry and expect to feel better. We have to be like, oh, I'm really angry. Ooh, right? We got to get it out and then respond to ourselves, validate, acknowledge, reassure ourselves, respond to ourselves instead of trying to dismiss our feelings. Because by accepting your feelings, you embrace your humanity, you strengthen your relationship with yourself and with others, because feelings are just reactions to situations. They are not character flaws. The pharmaceutical industry would like us to believe they are character flaws so that we take lots of medication so we don't feel our feelings, which, as I say that, I know I'm going to get the emails. Some people need medication. Yes, some people need medication, but I am talking about how our natural, normal emotions are often seen as pathological, or there's something wrong with them, and we're told to take a pill so we won't feel them. But we have to learn to feel them. We have to learn to express them. So to feel okay about yourself, to accept yourself, to accept your body, you got to define yourself not by only what the scale says or what you see in the mirror, but by your values, your personality, your unique characteristics, instead of only by your appearance. This is absolutely key to feeling more peaceful within. All right, next question. I've heard that you are against counting calories. But I find that MyFitnessPals really help me. Why do you not like fitness apps? Okay. Well, I'd like to know how MyFitnessPal has really helped, first of all. Has it helped you stay on your diet, which you inevitably then are going to go off of? How has it helped you? Or are you simply wanting to make sure you're getting the right ratio of protein and carbs and fiber and all the things? Like, how has it helped you? Okay, so here is my stance. Possibly might be considered a rant, but here's my stance on calorie counting apps and the like. It at first it seems great. Oh, great way to achieve your goals, your weight loss goals. Even people think they're going to stop binging by tracking what they eat. Wrong, because guess what? Binging is not actually about food, but hold that thought. So yeah, you download the app, you're ready to go, and before you realize it, you are tracking the macros of every meal you eat. You are thinking about numbers 24/7. You're thinking about food 24/7. This makes you anxious about food. It makes you hyper focused on every bite. Can you relate? Look, in my teenage years, this is I guess my show in which I'm revealing a lot about my teenage years. I used to diet a lot. Some of you know. I tracked every calorie I ate, every single bite. Only then it wasn't an app, it was a journal. But I can tell you this did not help me. Here are the reasons why I am not a fan of tracking. So first, it can disconnect you from your body's internal cues, such as hunger and fullness. We are all born with what is called interoceptive awareness, which is a fancy phrase that means we have the ability to listen and respond to the direct messages of our bodies to know when we've had enough to eat or when we are hungry. Or to put it another way, the ability to be an intuitive eater, to make overall healthy choices for ourselves. And diet culture tools like apps, they override those signals. When you ignore your hunger to stay within like some recommended calorie limit, eventually you lose your ability to trust your body. You may not even know what it is to feel hungry. Lots of people are like, I don't even remember being hungry. I have no idea what it is to be hungry. I wouldn't know hunger if I felt it, because I'm so disconnected from my body. The more that you impose diet culture onto what you are eating, the less you know how to eat intuitively, actually. And if you're trying to stay within some recommended limits, you might get so hungry you end up binging, or you might feel so deprived of certain foods that you end up binging. Also, apps can really create this preoccupation with food and contribute to binge eating. There was a 2021 study just a few years ago. It connected diet app use, with a fixation on numbers, diet obsession, and extreme negative emotions, that all of which, by the way, can increase the risk of eating disorder behaviors. So when you are on those apps, it's just another way of judging yourself when you don't achieve some particular goal, some particular macro goal, or stay within some calorie limit. That causes anxiety, that lowers self-esteem. Now you feel bad about yourself because of what you ate. It ruins our relationship with ourselves. It creates a pattern of really negative self-talk. And third, food is more than fuel. Food is more than fuel. We are not machines, but calorie counting apps consider ourselves to be. Calorie counting or macro counting fails to understand what it means to be a human being. They say nothing about what makes us feel satisfied, both physically and emotionally, or what's going on in that particular day. So for many of us, we have this idea that we should just, eat to live. And we forget that eating should be one of the pleasures of life. And if it just becomes this check-off thing that you do, and you're spending hours scrolling through your app to track your calories, it's hard to be present in your life and with yourself. I have more to say on this topic, but I am hearing from Jordan that I am running out of time. So I am going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to finish up the answer to this question and answer some more. So I'll see you in 2 minutes.
All clear. Back in 2.
Thanks, Jordan.
Welcome back to the Binge Cure with Dr. Nina. Have questions for Dr. Nina? Join her on the show at 866-472-5792. That's 866-472-5792. Now back to the show.
Welcome back. We are talking about how to fix your food issues. I'm taking questions from listeners, and we've talked about some things already, and now I want to finish talking about why calorie apps and calorie counting apps and fitness apps and all of those can actually make things worse instead of better. So we looked at how they can distance you from being intuitive about food. They can create a preoccupation with food. You got numbers on the mind all day. You got food on the mind all day. And also this idea that food should just be fuel rather than something that you enjoy. Eventually you want something yummy, which is why my one food rule is it has to be yummy. This idea that you should just eat, eat clean and eat whatever, and you shouldn't really enjoy it. That doesn't matter. You should just have whatever you need to have to meet your requirements. That just sucks, right? That's no fun. We're supposed to like food. If we weren't supposed to like food, we'd just be eating astronaut pellets or something just to get nutrition. Food is supposed to be enjoyed, but it's hard to enjoy it when you are struggling with it in the context of emotional eating or binge eating. So using these apps can help distance you from that feeling of, oh, this is good. It's like, should I have this? Should I not have this? Oh my God, I can't have this. I've already had too much of this. And oh, the thinking. And then eventually it's the, forget this, F it, and what's in the kitchen. So it is really important to enjoy food. That means, and this is after you work through the emotional eating aspect of this, the conflicts, the problems that you use food as a solution for. Food is not the problem. It is the solution to the problem. The problem is you're feeling something you don't want to feel. So turn to food to avoid it. Problem is you're feeling helpless in some area of your life, for example. So instead of looking at that area of your life and processing that and recognizing it, you transfer it, it gets displaced. Now you're feeling powerless over food, and so on and so on. Once you have processed and changed your relationship with yourself, then you can have a better relationship with food. And that means enjoying it more. That means bringing more presence to your plate. It means slowing down, noticing the actual taste of food, and having it be a good experience instead of, let me just get through this. Let me just get my macros in, or, I shouldn't be eating this. Let me eat as much as possible because tomorrow I'm going to be good again. That kind of thing. It is possible to beat binge eating and lose weight, but to do that, it is important to focus on why you're turning to food instead of on what you are eating. The apps track what you are eating. When you identify whether you're hungry, upset, lonely, tired, angry, sad, anxious, whatever, you can start to meet those needs directly instead of eating as a way of just distracting yourself or coping. So these are the reasons why I think that, calorie tracking, macro tracking apps do more harm than good. All right, next question. Pull out my computer here. All right. This person is saying, your advice on getting very aware and thinking about where these thoughts come from that lead to binge eating is really eye-opening. This is exactly what I need, but sometimes I feel like the more I think about it, the worse it gets. Any tips for that? Okay, that is a great question. And it makes sense too, because if we're using food to escape thoughts that are uncomfortable that we don't want to have, then of course, the more you think the thoughts, the worse it gets. So what to do? So pay attention to your thinking, to your thoughts. Are you ruminating, which is just like kind of going over and over and over what the situation is or how upset you are, just kind of going in a circle of rumination and thinking about it and thinking about it? Or are you processing your thoughts? So processing your thoughts, it is a process. And that means first you stop, you think, you identify what it is that's going on with you, what's eating at you, what's bothering you. If you think nothing is bothering me, I just like food too much, then I beg of you, use my food mood formula. Use the food mood formula and figure out, because that will help you figure out what it is that is eating at you. Because we go so fast to food, we bypass. It's kind of like bypass binging. We bypass what's bothering us, and then we're focusing on food or we're eating. So figure out what it is that's going on with you, and then express what you are feeling. Express it in words with whole sentences. I'm upset at the situation with my partner because this and that happened, and it means what? What does it mean? I've had people say, "Well, I can't get upset with my partner because then we'll get divorced." No, that's a leap, right? You're upset. That does not mean you're going to get divorced. But if you don't get in touch with what you are feeling, you're divorcing yourself from your inner world, and you're staying in this loop of using food to cope. So identify what it is, express it. I'm upset with my partner, or I feel sad, or I feel left out, or I'm really anxious about something that's coming up. And then you express it because of these reasons, because of this, because of that. This is what's going on. This is how I feel. And this is what it means. And then I'm not done yet. Now, and neither are you, if you're doing this, now you have to respond to yourself. It's not enough just to express it. It's not enough to identify it, and it's not enough just to express it. Next, you've got to respond to yourself. And how people often respond is, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it could be worse. Other people have it worse. I should be just grateful for what I have. I should be, right. Well, guess what that is? That's not responsive. That's dismissive. That is very dismissive. Responsive is, of course, I feel this way. I just had this argument with my partner and I'm upset. Of course I'm upset. How could I not be? Doesn't feel good. And we've processed things before. We've had conversations, or I know that we can work things out, and we're going to talk later, and we're going to figure it out, and I'm going to learn something from this situation. Right now, yeah, it's hard, but I have faith in my ability to get through this, no matter what the outcome is also. And going through that process is helpful. Just staying in that loop of what's happening keeps you stuck. And then how do you get out of the loop? Well, you have two choices. You either eat something to distract yourself, or you process what's going on. Typically, how long does it take for patients to process and overcome these, they're being stuck in this binge cycle? Well, this gives me a little opportunity to promote a little bit. So I will tell you that the clients in my 12-week program typically go from, I'll say, from binge to balance in 12 weeks, even though many of them have struggled for decades with food. Because when people have the right guidance and they tackle the actual problem, which is, hint, hint, not food, they can create massive change in a short amount of time. And then, obviously keep practicing and refining that new way of being in relationship with themselves. Accepting myself is one of the hardest things to do, especially if you've grown up hating yourself. It's more of a comment than a question, but yeah, that is true. It is extremely hard to accept yourself when you hate yourself. But nobody is born hating themselves. We are not born hating ourselves. We are born just being. We learn to hate ourselves, right? We're given messages overtly or covertly that make us think we're not good enough, we're too much, we're not enough, we should be different. If we were only this, then we'd be lovable. If we were only that, we'd be acceptable. This is what we learn, but it is not the truth. It is a fiction that we take as truth. It's a story, it's a narrative that we tell ourselves, but it is not true. So the good news is that what we learn, we can unlearn, and we can learn a new way. It takes effort, it takes tenacity, it takes courage, and it is possible. And how do you do that? Well, not by telling yourself how, lovable and wonderful you are. If you hate yourself and you can repeat a mantra that says you're lovable and you love yourself, you can repeat it for 10 years straight. Nothing will change. Say it 1,000,000 times. Nothing's going to change. To change, you have to look at how you learn to hate yourself. What is it you hate about yourself? What is it you think is so awful? What is it that's so dreadful? Where did you get the message that there's something wrong with you? Message came from somewhere. Either it was overt, which is usually not the case, but sometimes is, or it was covert. Like two sisters. One of them's, a little pleasingly plump as a child. The other one is skinny and is into sports, and the parents are into sports, and they're all about the skinny sister. So the slightly chubby sister gets the idea of, it must be, I must not be good enough because I'm not skinny like my sister. If I were skinny, my parents would be more interested in me, when really it might have to do with just the sister is sporty and the parents are sporty and they more in common with that sister. Or there's bias in the family, just outright bold, in your face weight bias, fat bias, and all of that. And that, that gives you the idea that, oh yeah, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with the way I look. There's something wrong with me. And that becomes a conviction of, oh, as opposed to, no, there's something wrong with the messages that I'm being given. But no child ever is able to say that. No child ever is going to be like, my family is giving me very destructive messages about my body, and they are not true. No. Kids believe their parents are gods. The gods know. If the gods are not treating you well, think that you should look different, tell you shouldn't eat that much sugar and you should lose weight and go on this diet, well, they must be right. And then that becomes a conviction, a belief. So look at how you learned to hate yourself and challenge that. What would you say to someone else who is going through that? What would you say if you could go back in time to the younger you? Would you say, oh, there's something wrong with you? Or would you say, you got the idea there's something wrong with you, but you are so amazing. You're lovely. You're smart. You're sweet. You're fun. You're awesome. So what if you like books instead of sports? That there's nothing good about sports and bad about books. You do you. The more you can support yourself and your younger self, the easier it is to feel differently about yourself. How do you handle emotional eating? This is the last one. I'll do it really fast. How do you handle emotional eating when you're stressed? Well, first, identify what you mean by stressed, because often we say we're stressed, but we really mean we're angry or anxious or sad or some other expression. So if you often feel overwhelmed or stressed, overwhelmed with what? Stressed by what? Once you drill down what the stress actually is, you can express it with words in the sequence that I gave you earlier, right? Identify it, express it, and respond to yourself. You often cannot change the situation that is causing you to feel so stressed, whatever the stress really means, or overwhelmed, but you can change how you respond to it and how you think about it and what it means to you. So if you feel stressed, what is stress to you? What, if you couldn't say stressed, what word would you use? What feeling word would you use? Mad, sad, anxious? Let's see. Oh, this person says, how I've definitely experienced the screw it, I'll eat it all feeling before. How do I get out of that? Well, that all or nothing mentality, I have more time than I thought, so I'm continuing. That all or nothing mentality is just really the worst. Black and white thinking, the worst. It leads to, good me, bad me. When you're good with food, it's good me. When you're bad with food, it's bad me. Well, what's good? What's bad? Let's aim for food neutrality. It's just food on a continuum of, healthy to unhealthy. So just aim for, more healthy and less unhealthy. And if you can have the unhealthy anytime, you're going to want less of it. You're going to also start thinking about how you feel in your body when you eat certain foods, as opposed to, oh, I can't have it, so I want it. And that all or nothing thinking is, oh, I had 2 cookies, I might as well have the whole box of cookies and then whatever else is in the kitchen. That just leads to binging. So really focus on, where does that screw it, I'll eat it all feeling comes from? Well, it comes from I ate some of it and I broke some invisible rule. that the diet industry has given UPS, and now I might as well break all the rules. Instead of all I did was eat 2 cookies or whatever it is. I just had pizza. That's there are no food crimes. Last one. Have you found any specific foods that might trigger emotional eating? Food is not a trigger for emotional eating. We are not actually triggered by food, even though it sure seems like we are. We are triggered by something that may be out of our conscious awareness or hidden from us, and we turn to, or not, sometimes we know exactly what's going on, and we turn to food as a way of coping. So there is no such thing as a trigger food. And that food mood formula is what helps you figure out what's actually triggering you. So smooth, really fast, smooth and creamy, need for comfort. So filling foods, bread, pasta, hamburgers, cake, whatever, that's associated with loneliness or filling a void, emptiness. Anything crunchy is associated with forms of anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance, rage, and anything candy-like is associated with maybe needing more sweetness in your life, just not the kind that comes from sugar. So we feel like we're triggered by food, but we're actually triggered by something that is going on in our lives, in our worlds, in our minds that leads us to food as a way of coping. When you can identify your triggers and process them differently, guess what? Everything changes with food. And that is how you liberate yourself from emotional eating, take back control, and feel good in your body without counting calories, without worrying about going to the gym. Go to the gym because it's healthy, not because you need to earn the right to eat something. So I hope that you found the questions and the answers to be of interest, and keep them coming. I love these questions, and I am here to help and to offer hope, because no matter how long you have struggled with binge eating or emotional eating, there is a way out. There is a path out. You don't have to struggle with this forever. You can create liberation. You can put this in your rear view mirror, and it can be something that you used to do, but not anymore. Now you're living your life, and truly living, and not existing from diet to diet to diet. And that is our show for today. So thank you so much for joining me here on the Binge Cure with Dr. Nina. And if you would like a deeper dive into some of the things I touched on today, please get your copy of the Binge Cure 7 Steps to Outsmart Emotional Eating. It is available on Amazon, along with the accompanying journal, which is a workbook with over 200 pages full of amazing ways that you can take the principles in this book and put them to work for you. And the principles that I talk about today, and that I talk about every day. So stay curious, not critical, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.
All clear. Great show.